Hi all. In this lecture, we'll see about constraints on relationship types, and also we'll see about weak entity types and also about higher degree relationships. So this is the outline. So we'll see structural constraints. So in structural constraints, we'll mainly see about cardinality ratio and participation constraints. Then we will see weak entity types, structural constraint representation, then relationship types of higher degree. So this is the outline of our lecture. So we have already seen what is a relationship type and all. What is a relationship? What is a relationship type? And what is a relationship set? Now there are some relationship constraints on this binary relationship type. So relationship types usually have certain constraints that limit the possible combination of entities that may participate in the corresponding relationship set. So we cannot combine all the entities and form some relationship. So there will be some constraint on it. For example, each employee must work for exactly one department. An employee cannot work on multiple departments. So that is a constraint. So we have to specify that constraint in ER diagrams also. Like that, there will be different constraints. There should be only a single manager for a department, or a department should be managed by only one person. Or you could say not all people can, all employees cannot become managers. So there are various constraints that will be there in our data set, our database. So we need to specify those constraints. So we cannot make maximum combination of all these entities and all to show the relationship. So there will be some constraints that limit the possible combination of entities. So we will see what are the constraints on binary relationship type. So mainly we have two constraints in binary relationship type. First one is cardinality ratio, and or we call it as maximum constraint. We call it as maximum constraint also. Then the second one is participation constraint. We call it as minimum cardinality ratio also. This is maximum cardinality ratio. This one, second one is participation constraint, or we can call it as minimum cardinality ratio. So these two constraints are together known as structural constraints. So structural constraints. So we will see cardinality ratio first. So what is this cardinality ratios for binary relationship? So this specifies, cardinality ratio specifies the maximum number of relationship instances that an entity can participate in. So this specifies the maximum number of relationship instances. For example, we will see an example. In the works for relationship, we have already seen this works for relationship. It is between department and employee. The cardinality ratio is 1 is to n. So that means in a particular department, the one side is department. So in a particular department, there can be n number of employees. So we can have n number of employees in a particular department. So this is known as maximum. This actually specifies the maximum number of relationship instances that an entity can participate. And if you take the reverse process, an employee can work only in a single department, and a department can have n employees. So this is known as cardinality ratio. Then this is 1 is to n cardinality ratio. There can be other cardinality ratio like 1 is to 1. We will see an example for that also. Then we can have 1 is to n is to 1 is there. Then m is to n is there. M on both sides. That is, it can be any number on both sides. So we'll see examples for all these types. So this is an example for 1 is to n. This is works for. So this shows an employee can work on a single department, and a department can have n number of employees. If you see, D1 has 1, 2, 3 employees, D2 has 2 employees, D3 has 2 employees, like that. But if you see this left hand side, a particular employee E1 is working only in D1, or E4 is working only in D2 department. So this is known as 1 is to n cardinality ratio. Okay, then second example is a 1 is to 1 cardinality ratio. So this is between employee and department and manages relationship. It is 1 is to 1. That means An employee can manage at most one department, and a department can be managed by at most one employee. That is, we cannot have two managers in a department, or an employee cannot manage two departments. So here E3 manages D1, E5 manages D3, E6 manages D2. So manages is 1 is to 1 relationship. So this is meant by maximum cardinality ratio. So an employee can manage at most one department, and the department can have at most one employee as manager. So this specifies 1 is to 1 relationship. Then we can see an M is to N relationship. This is an example for M is to N relationship. So we have already seen employee works on a relationship type. Employee works on project. Here, an employee can work on n number of projects. So if you see this E1 employee, he is working on P1. He is working on a single project. But if you see E2, he is working on two different projects. One is P1 and he is also working on P4. And similarly, E3 employee is working on three projects. He is working on P2, P3, and P4. And if you take this side, project side, a project in a project, more than one employee can work. So if P1, two employees are working, in P2 only a single employee is working, P3 there are two employees, P4 there are two employees. So that is why it is known as M is to N. So we can have M number of employees and N number of projects, and M employees can work in, or n number of employees can work in a particular project. Similarly, an employee can work in n number of projects. So that is why it is known as M is to N relationship. Then there is one more, N is to 1. If you take the reverse thing, you will get the N is to 1 relationship. We need not go into that example and all. So mainly it is 1 is to N, 1 is to 1, and M is to N. So that is all about cardinality ratio. Then the second type of constraint, structural constraint, is participation constraint, or we call it as existence dependencies also. So this specifies whether the existence of an entity depends on its being related to another entity via the relationship type. So this actually specifies the existence. So this actually specifies a minimum constraint. The previous one was maximum constraint. We will specify the maximum number of instances that can occur. Here we will be specifying the minimum number of instances, or minimum number of relation instances that can an employee. So that this specifies the minimum number of relationship instances that each entity can participate in. And this is also known as minimum cardinality constraint. The other one is known as maximum cardinality constraint, and this is known as minimum cardinality constraint. So we mainly have two types of minimum cardinality constraint. One is total and second one is partial. We will see an example, then you will understand. So in the works for relationship, so it is total, or we call it as existence dependency. So works for relationship is total. Works for, we will see the example for that works for. So this is works for. So employee works for a department. So it is mandatory that all employees should work for some department. So that is why it is known as total participation. So we have total participation in this side. So every employee, so each and every employee should work in any of the department. So that is meant by total participation. So on the employee side, it is total participation. Okay. Then partial constraint is manages. Manages specifies a partial constraint. We will see the example for manages. So this is manages. So this is partial, because not all employees can become the managers. Okay. So here the employee side, that the employee side, it is partial constraint. So but here it is total, because every department there should be a manager. Here employee side it is partial, sorry, it is partial, and the department side it is total. In this case, employee side it is total, because every employee should work on department. Okay. And here it is partial, not in each department all the employees should not work in a particular department. they can work in different departments. So here in this side, it is total constraint. Every employee should work in separate department, and here this side it is partial. And in this case, employee side it is partial, and in this side it is total. Okay, because every department should have a manager. So there is a line from in this relationship in this year. So that's the difference between total and partial. So works for is total and manages is partial. Then we can have attributes for relationship types also. So earlier we have already seen there are attributes for entity types. Similarly, for relationship types also, we can have attributes. In certain cases, we need to specify attributes for relationship type also. So for example, hours per week is an attribute for works on. So works on is the relationship between employee and project. So employee works on some project. So we need to find that hours per week that an employee works on a particular project. So that hours per week is not an attribute of that employee, or it is not an attribute for that project. So if we want to keep, so you imagine that I am working on five different projects. So as an employee, I am working on five different projects, and I need to keep track of how many hours I worked on each project. So that attribute cannot be specified in the employee side, because if I am working on five projects, I should have five rows for that. I have to specify project 1, this P1 for this number of hours, P2 this number of hours, P3 this number of hours. Or if I'm specifying that attribute in the project side, then it will be much more complex, because for every employee I have to keep track of that thing. So hours per week is actually an attribute of works on relationship type. So number of hours per week that an employee works on a project is actually a attribute for that relationship type. I will show how to represent in ER diagram later. So remember that attributes are also there for relationship types. The next topic is about weak entity types. So we have already seen strong entity. So you have to differentiate between a strong entity type and weak entity type. So when there is a weak entity type, there should be something called strong entity type also. So strong entity types in the previous, we have in the previous examples and all, we have already seen different entity types. The previous lecture we have seen employee entity type, then we have seen department entity type. All those are strong entity types because they have some key attribute. So if an entity type has some key attribute on its own, then it is known as strong entity type. In the case of weak entity type, this entity that does not have a key attribute, so then we call it as weak entity type. So there are certain entities where we cannot specify a key attribute, then those type of entities are known as weak entity types. So weak entity type must participate in an identifying relationship type with the owner or identifying entity type. Then only we can actually specify the or uniquely identify a particular thing in the weak entity type. So it should participate in an identifying relationship type. So we will see what is this identifying relationship type and how to represent it. So there should be an identifying relationship because it does not have a key attribute on its own. So if we want to identify a particular row in that table, if there are, if we have a weak entity type, so there will be some data in that table. So if we want to identify a particular row in that table, it will not be possible because there is nothing to uniquely identify. So in order to identify it, it should participate in a relationship type with an owner. So there will be an owner entity. So entities are identified by the combination of a partial key of the weak entity type and the particular entity they are related to in the identifying entity type. So we'll see an example, then you'll understand what is this weak entity type. So in the example, the previous company database, dependent, that is a, we have already seen dependent is an entity type. So dependent entity is a weak entity type because it does not have a key on its own. There are no unique attribute or unique attribute that or unique value that can be or unique key attribute that can be used to identify it. So dependent entity is actually a weak entity type. It does not have its key on its own. So it is identified by the combination of dependent's first name and birth date. So because we cannot use dependent's first name, there may be several dependents whose first name will be same. So we cannot uniquely identify. Or birth date, there will be persons who will be having the same birth date. So we'll take a combination of first name and birth date, and still there can be same values. So this combination cannot uniquely identify a particular entity in this dependent. So what we do is we take a combination of first name and a birth date, and additionally we use the employee entity also. We will use the employee SSN or some value from the employee entity also. So this is the identifying entity type. So employee is the identifying entity type. So we have already specified there should be an owner or identifying entity type. So employee is the owner. So employee will be having dependents. So in order to identify a particular entity in this dependent table or dependent entity, what we have to do is we have to take the combination of first name and birth date from this dependent and the employee. Employee will take sometimes SSN will be taken. So SSN plus first name plus birth date will give the will be used to identify the dependent entities. So this is known as weak entity type. So this is the ER diagram representation. So we have already seen how to represent entity type and all. Next, how to represent a weak entity type. So it will be double rectangles. So it will be double rectangles. Then relationship, it is specified in diamond, and identifying relationship. So identifying relationship is actually to specify the weak entity. So it is a double diamond. Then we have already seen structural constraint. We have seen two types of structural constraint. One is cardinality ratio. So in order to specify this cardinality ratio, we will simply write it on the line. So this is E1 specifies an entity type, E2 specifies another entity type. So R is the relationship between them. So if it is a 1 is to n, then we will specify 1 here and n here. If it is 1 is to 1, we will specify 1 here and 1 here. And it is m is to n, we will specify m here and n here. So that is how we will specify the cardinality ratio. Then to specify the total participation and partial participation, we will specify total participation using double lines, and partial participation we will specify using single line. So this way we can represent in ER diagrams. So structural constraints, cardinality ratio, we have 1 is to 1, 1 is to n, n is to m, m is to n. So it is shown by placing appropriate number on the link. And participation constraint, we can have total or partial. So total is shown by double lining the link. So this is the ER diagram we will get after using the structural constraints and all relationship. So in the previous lectures, we have seen how to represent this uh, entity types. So this is employee, this is department, we have represented this project, and we have represented dependent. Now we have found out there is a relationship between employee and department, that is works for relationship is there. So we have to specify using a diamond works for. Then we have already seen there should be a total participation because every employee there should be he should work for some department. That is why we are specifying using double lines. And here department side it is also double lines. So every department will have some employees, then only there will be a department. So each department there should be at least as one employee that will be working for that department. So in the when we specify data requirements, it is already mentioned. If you refer the text, it can be seen that a department will be formed when there are at least 3 employees in that department. So it is actually the constraint of this data database. So that is why there is double lines here. So every department should have some employees. So that is why here there is double line here, double line here. So total participation here on both sides. Then we can specify the cardinality ratio here, n and 1 here. That means here actually it is not 1, we have to specify 3, because as per the example there should be at least 3 employees. Here we have taken only 1, that is at least 1 employee should be there in a department. And here a department can have n number of employees, maximum n number of employees can be there. Okay, then we have sorry we can have also sorry here this one specifies actually this employee should work in one department, at least one department. So this one specifies actually this thing. We will see another notation later. So now it is like this. So a department can have n employees, and an employee can have should work in at most one department. Okay. Then there is another relationship between employee and department, that is managers relationship. So we know that managers should have a double line here, because every department should have at least one manager. And here it is partial, because not all employees can manage a department. So that is why only a single line here. Then we have already seen it is 1:1 relationship, because an employee can manage at most one department and a department can have at most one employee. That is why 1 and 1 here. Then we have already seen another relationship between department and project. Department controls project. Controls relationship is there between department and project. So controls some project. So one department can have n number of projects. Okay, and a project will be assigned to only one department. That is why 1:n. So, and there is a double line here. It specifies that project should be assigned to some department. Okay, that is why there is a total participation here. Then we have employee works on relationship, works on some project. Employee works on some project will be there. So if you see that there is double line here. So every employee should work on some project, and in a project there should be some employees. That is why total participation on both sides. Then we have already seen it is an M:1 relationship. Okay. Then if you see there is a relationship attribute, we have already seen number of hours per week. It is not an attribute of employee, or it is neither an attribute of project also. So what we have to do, it's an attribute of this works on relationship type. So hours is specified like this. So this means hours is a hours per week is an attribute of works on relationship type. Okay. Then we have a derived attribute here, that is number of employees. That is why it is shown in dotted ovals. So this specifies that a number of employees can be derived from by counting the number of employees in each department. And also here there's another attribute, manage. For managers relationship, the start date of that manager, it is neither an attribute of employee nor an attribute of this department. So it is an attribute of manager's relationship type. That is why it is specified here. Okay. Then we can see another relationship. There is a dependence of dependent between employee and dependents. So we have already seen for dependent the attributes are these attributes: name, sex, birth date, relationship. And here we cannot use any of these attributes. There is no key attribute in this dependent, because if you take name, same there will be several departments having the same name. Or sex we cannot take, or birth date there will be several dependents having the same birth date. So relationship can also be same. So we cannot have any key attribute. So that is why it is a weak entity type. That is why it is in double rectangles. So it should participate in an identifying relationship type. So that is why it is also double diamond. And it should have an owner. So employee is the owner here. Employee is the owner here. So it is 1:n, and it is total, because dependent, if there is a dependent, then it should be assigned to some employee, and not all employees may have dependents. So not all employees may specify their dependents. So some employees will not specify any dependents. That is why there is no total participation here. There is no double line here. Okay. Then this is recursive relationship between, we have already seen what is a recursive relationship. So this is between employee and employee. So some employees will be supervising other employees. So we will specify role names also. So supervisor, and this side it is supervisee. So we have to specify the role names in case of recursive relationship. So it is 1 is to n. So this means one supervisor can have n number of supervisees. Okay. So that is why it is 1 is to n relationship. And there is no total participation, because not all employees can have supervisors, because there will be a high level of people who will not be supervised at all. So if you take the CEO, he won't be having a supervisor. That is why there is no total participation on both sides. Okay. So these are the things that I think now the diagram is clear. So we have to draw, we have to start from entity types, we have to draw the entity types, then we have to identify the relationship type, then we have to draw this relationship type, then we have to find whether there are some attribute like this relationship type attributes, then we have to specify those relationship type attributes, then we have to find whether there are weak entity type, like that. So here the combination. So in this dependent case, here we are taking as name, birth date, and employees some SSN value will be taken as to identify that. That is why it is specified as dotted line. Here birth date can also be specified. If you are taking the combination of name and birth date, then name should be specified in dotted line, and birth date also should be specified in dotted lines here. So dotted underline should be there here to show that it is a partial key. Okay, so I think now the diagram is clear. So in this way you can draw the ER diagram. Then there is another alternative min-max notation for to specify the structural constraints. So we are using this n is to 1 and then double lining and all. So it is better to use another notation for that. We call it as min-max notation. So this is specified on each participation of an entity type in a relationship type R. So we'll see. So this actually specifies that each entity E in R, E participates in at least minimum and at most maximum relationship instances in R. So you won't understand what all these sentences. We'll come see an example, then you will understand what is this. So a department has exactly one manager and an employee can manage at most one department. So we know that this constraint, manages constraint is manages relationship there, and we know this constraint, only one manager will be there for a department and an employee can manage at most one department. So how to specify in min-max notation? So we will be specifying 0 1 for participation of employee in manages, and specify 1 comma 1 for participation of department in manages. So that this specifies actually the minimum constraint. So an employee can manage 0 departments, that is the minimum, and maximum he can manage one department. So that is why it is known as min-max notation. So this employee in manage means 0 1. I will show the diagram example, then we will see you will understand this. So this is the alternative min-max notation. So if we see this manages, we have specified 0 1 here. Instead of specifying this double line and all, we are specifying 0 1 here. So this means an employee can manage minimum 0 department. That is, every employee cannot manage can manage a department. So cannot manage a department. That is why 0 is specified. So and at most maximum, second one means maximum. So every employee can manage maximum one department. So that is why it is known as min-max notation. Here in this side it is 1 comma 1. So this means and department minimum there should be one manager and maximum there should be one manager. That is why it is known as 1 comma 1. So here works for relationship. If you take this in employee in works for, it is 1 comma 1. That is an employee minimum he should work for one department and maximum also he should work for one department. And here it is 4 comma n. So we have specified 4 comma n here. It means that department at least 4 employees should be there and maximum n number of employees should be there. So minimum 4 employees should be there in a department. Then only we can form a department. And maximum n number of departments. Then we can take another example. Here we'll take this works on relationship. So here it is 1 comma n. So in the employee side it is 1 comma n. It means that employee should work at least in one project and he can work maximum n number of projects. And here in a project minimum at least one employee should be there and maximum n number of employees will be there. So that is why 1 comma n is specified. So here also we can see that employee and dependents, it is 0 comma n. This means there are an employee can have minimum 0 dependents. An employee may not have dependents at all, and maximum he can have n number of dependents. And here it is 1 comma 1. That means if there's if there is a department, at least he should have a one employee, and maximum he should have one employee as dependent, or we should have an owner. So this way we can specify all these constraints. So this is known as min-max notation. So we can avoid this double lines and we can avoid that 1 comma 1 is to n ratio constraint and all by we can simply use. So this is a recursive relationship. Here it is 0 comma n. An employee can have 0 supervisor or n number of supervisors. Here supervisee he can have 0 supervisor or one supervisor, at most one supervisor. So this way we can use this alternative min-max notation also. So you can either use this notation or you can use this notation. So whichever is convenient for you, you can use either way. So both are same. So you can either use this min-max or whichever is convenient for you. Now you can read this thing. You will understand this alternative min-max. So specified on each participation on entity type E in relationship type. So this specifies that each entity E in E participates in at least minimum and at most maximum relationship instances. So default, if you are not specifying anything, then it means that minimum 0 and maximum n is there. 0 comma n it will be taken. So we have already seen this manages. It is 0 1 on one side and 1 is to 1 in the other side. Here we have already seen this also, employee and department. It is 1 comma 1 and 0 comma n for works for relationship. So actually we have specified 4 comma n because in the original example it is mentioned that at least 4 employees should be there in a department. That is why we are given 4 comma n. So if we are specifying only even with a single person, if a department can be run, then we can mention it as 1 comma n also. 1 comma n also. Okay. Then there are relationship types of degree higher than 2. So we have already seen that example for degree 3 we call it as ternary, and for degree n it is known as n-ary. We have already seen the previous lecture. And an n-ary relationship is not equivalent to n binary relationship. We cannot split an n-ary relationship into n number of binary relationship. So if we try to split the ternary into 3 binary relationship, it won't work, or it won't be the same as the ternary relationship. So we have already seen this example of supply between supplier, project and part supply relationship. It is a ternary relationship because we have 3 entity types here. If we try to split it into 3 binary relationship type, it will be like this. So we have split into supply, scan supply and uses. So we try to split into 3 binary relationship type. You do not worry about this example and all. This is to show that we cannot split into like this. If we split into this 3 binary relationship, it won't be same as this ternary relationship. So we have to specify this ternary relationship like this itself. So there are various ways to split to binary and all, but this won't give the same result as the ternary relationship. So we should not split it like that. We have to make it ternary itself. So this is an example to show to split into like this. So if you want, we have already seen this example in the previous lecture. You can refer the previous example. So ternary is not equivalent to three binary relationship. A ternary is ternary itself. Okay. So we should not split like this. So this is another example of a bank database. So this is just to show. So if you see, this bank is strong entity, this is a weak entity. So this participates in an identifying relationship. Then only we can see this. Then there is a relationship accounts like this. So you can simply see this example and you can simply explain it. You can by your own words. So you try to identify what is this one, what this n means, why it is n here, why it is mn here, like 1 in here, and why it is mn here, like that. You can simply check and see this example, try it yourself. So that's all about ER diagram. So this is how you can represent ER diagram. You can either use the first notation or you can use the min-max notation for structural constraint. So from the data requirements, we try to draw the ER diagrams. So after completing the ER diagrams, your conceptual high-level conceptual data design will be over. So the ER diagram will be the final high-level conceptual design. So from this, we will be converting it into tables. So you have to draw, I'll be giving an assignment. I've already mentioned about that assignment. So for your software also, you have to draw this ER diagram based on what you have studied in all these lectures. So this is a reference. Thank you.